Couch Cube and welcome to my review of The Ascent from Neon Giant. It's a local couch co-op game up to 4 players. Absolutely amazing news. And get this game is worth the cost of Game Pass alone. Man, Xbox are completely rocking it at the moment. I'm going to tell you a really quick, boring story about Sony. This video was supposed to be called The Ascent versus Ruiner versus Alienation, right? And I've gone to my old PlayStation games to fire up Alienation, and I've had an issue with moving countries and my PlayStation Network region being adjusted on payment. Basically, you can't do it. Massive warning out there to everybody, and this goes for my YouTube channel as well. If you move countries, you cannot adjust your payments and you cannot adjust your AdSense account. I found all that out the hard way in these last couple of weeks. So anyway, I can't get to my Alienation game in my PlayStation account because I'm not got PlayStation Plus, and that game was downloaded during a free game month years and years ago. How awful is that? So I go to play it and it's like, no, you have to have access to the service. I do have a UK PlayStation Network account that I can access things into, but again, it's locked it and said, no, you're gonna have to give us 20 quid to play Alienation, a game that I reviewed 3 years ago and is possibly the best couch co-op sci-fi twin stick shooter on the market. I can't hold it up against this. Thankfully, Ruiner is still intact because that's over on Steam, and I wanted to include footage of it in this video. I've watched countless Ascent reviews from loads of the big name reviewers and loads of the big name sites. Not a single one have touched on the couch co-op and whether or not it works, or mentioned any other games in the cyberpunk twin stick shooter genre, which funnily enough has Ruiner dominating it. And it's amazing, this game. Strictly one player, totally recommended to go to first. But I am going to concentrate on the Ascent for the majority of this video, and let's talk about this game's quality. I pitched this the other day to a mate as Helldivers meets Destiny, and what I mean by the latter game being included in that comparison is a very detailed loot system, really cool weapon variation. You're talking shotguns, snipers, different types of machine gun, and a wealth of amazing enemies to fight that have got a really cool insect meets mechanical aesthetic. Absolutely love it, and I really love their bestiary as well, so you can get a good look at everything. But let's get a good look at this ray tracing, these frame rates, and this combat in the single player quickly. This is all PC footage. I first ran this game on my monitor that only goes to 1080 but does have a plus 60 frames per second capability, up to 75 on it. Now, when I first ran this game on certain settings, it had a nightmare, and whenever any environment asset or new enemy came on screen and acted out some sort of scripted effect, it would massively chuck. But once that was out of the way, it kind of never happened again. Now, you see this a lot on some PC games where just the first time it does everything, it stutters a little bit. But I tweaked this around. I ended up putting it over on my normal TV, which is 4K, and adjusting it to 2K and putting it down from ultra onto high settings. And I didn't see too much of a dive in some of the detail, and especially the persistent ragdoll physics and the rubbish on screen, i.e. the debris around. Just looks incredible on high as well. I'm so impressed with this game graphically. It just took a bit of time to find that sweet spot. The ray tracing and reflections are incredible. I do love the cyberpunk neon city scenes that act as the hub. There's loads of two-tiered glass happening with different parallaxes and images going on underneath the whole city. It's very intricate. But Coop, you've done it to us again. We're at 4 minutes. Let's actually look at some couch co-op footage. It was actually a nervous moment for me. I've only had this with one other game that I enjoy so much in the single player that bringing someone else on board on a local co-op level could spell disaster, because the game may not run very well, a lot of the menus might be fiddly, maybe there's a problem with the loot system. Everything is just fine, my god. And it does a great thing that Borderlands does with pitching the enemies mid-tier between how high ranked you are. You're going to need 2 characters on your profile if you're going to play this game couch co-op. You're going to have to run 2 at the same time, because you can't just incept one when the other person comes and sits down. It just glitches it. It's very strange. You need someone to have got a profile off the ground, and then you can both join each other's games. But that will result in one profile being a bit lower ranked. But it didn't seem to be a problem. It really worked that middle ground. I felt a little bit OP as the higher ranked player, but we still communicated loads. We still used the environment. I'm going to get into its 2-button cover mechanic in a second. That really does change things. Over on the circle button, or the B button, or the red button, you can crouch, toggle on and off, and that means that all of the environment is kind of only one height and you can get behind most of it. Now here's the genius: when you're in that crouched mode, you hold down L2 and then R2 to fire your gun, meaning there's 2 levels of bullet height, normal and above cover. So if someone's running to you whilst you're in cover, you can Gears of War style fire over it, then roll out and deliver a normal bit of punishment without using that L2. It feels very natural. It's a great thing to have, and it just gives you that extra piece of depth that you often crave with twin sticks. And of course it's coupled with this genius loot system. And look at the enemies. This game does currently appear to be tied in with Xbox and PC and Microsoft. There are no rumours or mentions of any PlayStation 4 release. I'd love to see this on Switch. It's so good on its graphics and having that added bit of depth with that cover system, and having a very modern loot system, RPG, shops, upgrading sections of armor. I'd be extremely surprised if a Switch could run this. But then again, I said that about Doom Eternal, and there's something about the feeling of this game, it's almost sort of retro modern. It would feel so great on a handheld. Now it's not all plain sailing. The game refuses to close itself down properly. We had a freeze during our co-op session. It does get itself in a bit of a twist a lot of the time. But, you know, hard resetting or just exiting the game and coming back in is a thing. I will take that on the chin to have such beautiful gameplay. Check this mech boss out. Look at the smoke when he stamps his feet. It is an incredible piece of work, this. But again, this is the first time I've encountered him. You're going to see a delay on every single one of these moves that we haven't seen before. I fought him a couple of hours later on a main quest. He was as smooth as butter. So I just think it's teething stuff. There will be a huge patch drop in for this. But this is the most incredible twin stick couch co-op shooter on the market now. I'm absolutely devastated that it's not on the PlayStation 4. It is a hell of a lot better than Alienation. Because of its modern tweaks and look, it smashes Nex Machina because of its RPG depth and flawless integration with the characters and where they're up to with their development. They just need to get on top of some of these whacking great bugs. I have been Couch Coop. I will see you down there. Another Couch Co-op video on the way very shortly.